Some people count down to their birthday for weeks. They plan it, celebrate it, make it feel big. And then there are people like you. Your birthday comes and it feels like just another day. No big expectations, no need for attention, no pressure to make it special. And from the outside, people don't always understand that. They might think you're boring, or that you don't value yourself, or that something is missing. But what if it's the opposite? What if the way you see your birthday actually reveals something rare about your mindset? Because people who treat birthdays like normal days often think about life in a very different way. And today, we're going to explore what that really means. Number 1, you don't rely on external validation to feel valued. For many people, birthdays are about recognition, messages, calls, attention, being remembered. It's one of the few days where the world is expected to pause and acknowledge your existence. But when you treat your birthday like any other day, it often means you don't depend on that kind of validation. Psychology shows that people with strong internal validation don't need external events to feel worthy or seen. They don't need a specific day to feel important, because their sense of value isn't tied to how others treat them. It comes from within. You might still appreciate the messages, you might still smile when someone remembers, but you don't need it to feel okay. And that's a quiet kind of strength. Number 2, you value consistency over moments. Birthdays are a single moment in time, a highlight, but some people don't measure life in highlights. They care more about the everyday. Research indicates that people who focus on consistency tend to have a more stable sense of happiness, because their well-being isn't dependent on occasional peaks. It's built into their daily life. So instead of thinking, this one day has to be special, you might think, I just want my life to feel okay, most of the time. You'd rather have calm, steady days than one big day surrounded by pressure. And that perspective changes everything, because you're not chasing moments, you're building a life. Number 3, you're uncomfortable with being the center of attention, not in a negative way, just naturally. For some people, being the focus of attention feels exciting. For others, it feels heavy. Research in personality psychology shows that more introspective or sensitive individuals often feel overstimulated by too much attention. So when your birthday comes and suddenly all eyes are on you, it doesn't feel natural. It feels like a spotlight you didn't ask for. You might prefer a quiet message over a loud celebration, a simple moment over a big gathering. Not because you don't matter, but because you experience things more internally. And your comfort doesn't come from being seen by everyone. It comes from feeling understood by a few. Number 4, you've learned not to attach meaning to specific dates. For some people, birthdays carry emotional weight. They represent growth, identity, or even pressure. But for others, a date is just a date. And often, that comes from experience. Maybe birthdays didn't always feel special growing up. Maybe they were overlooked, or inconsistent, or just normal. So over time, your mind adapted. Research shows that when certain events don't consistently carry emotional value, we stop assigning meaning to them. We detach. And instead of forcing importance onto one day, you spread meaning across your life. You find value in random moments, unexpected conversations, quiet days that feel peaceful. You don't wait for a calendar to tell you when something matters. Number 5, you see time differently than most people. For many, birthdays are a checkpoint, a reminder of age, of progress, of what they've achieved or haven't. But if your birthday feels like just another day, it might mean you don't measure your life that way. You're not constantly comparing yourself to timelines. You're not thinking, I should be further ahead by now. Instead, you might see growth as something continuous, something that doesn't reset once a year. Psychology suggests that people who view time as ongoing, rather than segmented, tend to experience less pressure and more self-acceptance. Because they're not judging themselves based on milestones. They're simply living and growing at their own pace. Number 6, you don't need a reason to exist. This one is subtle, but powerful. For some people, birthdays are a reminder that they matter, that their life is worth acknowledging. But when you don't feel the need to make your birthday special, it can mean something deeper. It can mean you don't need a specific reason or a specific day to justify your existence. You're here, and that's enough. You don't need an event to validate that. You don't need attention to confirm it. You exist without needing to prove it. And that kind of mindset is rare. So if you've ever felt like something was off because your birthday doesn't feel like a big deal, maybe it's not something missing. Maybe it's something different. You might just be someone who finds value within, not outside, prefers consistency over intensity, feels deeply but quietly, and sees life beyond just milestones. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, there's something strong about it. Because in a world that constantly tells you to celebrate louder, to show more, to make everything bigger, you've learned how to exist without needing any of that. And that's not emptiness, that's independence. But here's something to remember. Not needing something doesn't mean you're not allowed to enjoy it. You don't have to reject celebration just because you don't depend on it. You're allowed to create meaning in your own way, even if it's quiet, even if it's simple, even if no one else sees it. So the next time your birthday comes around and it feels like just another day, don't question it, just understand it, because it says more about your mindset than you might think. If this resonated with you, there's a reason, and there's more to explore. Subscribe for more insights on personality, behavior, and the psychology behind the way you experience life.